With this kit, you're going to be making the Fly Eagles Fly logo. If this is your first time creating with us, we want to share a few tips to make this experience a great one. If you haven't yet, visit our techniques videos linked in the description below. For all you first-timers, we sent you some pipe cleaners in your kit specifically to practice with these videos and learn common techniques that will make your piece even better. Regardless of how many times you've done this, you have some extra pipe cleaners in your kit in case you make a mistake. That's completely normal and we've planned for it. The more time and attention you give to your piece, the better it will turn out. So take all the time you need, follow the steps, and above all, have fun learning and advancing in this new art form. Happy twisting! Start molding your black pipe cleaner to the template to create the first frame. When you come to the end of the pipe cleaner, simply twist another one on and continue. To finish the frame, you can add a smaller pipe cleaner and twist together, or use a full one and simply trim the end. Be sure to check your shape and mold to the template after connecting your frame. Let's continue our frame by adding a small pipe cleaner to the top to create the outline of the back of the beak. Connect it to the bottom part of the frame to secure. Now we are going to grab another short pipe cleaner to make the bottom smallest feather streak. Start the connection on the back of the bottom of the beak and extend to the back of the head as shown on the template. Grab a full pipe cleaner and add it to the top again on the inside to create a second layer on your frame. Loop onto each corner turn to secure. Continue to follow your outline down the back of the head on the inside. Loop over each corner to secure the second frame layer. Continue this all the way down to the short feather streak you made at the bottom. Wrap the excess around the bottom all the way to the back of the short feather streak. Continue creating a second layer by adding a small pipe cleaner below the small feather streak at the bottom. Wrap around that frame to secure as you go. Add another cut piece to the front part of the shape created by the feather streak. Continue to lay down a second layer inside the original frame shape. Now add the second layer to the beak. Check and mold onto the template once that is laid in. Continue adding the second layer to the top of the head. Start at the back ridge of the beak. Make this ridge prominent by folding and shaping the pipe cleaner to create thickness. Secure at the back of the head. To create the eye, connect to the back of the beak and begin to shape according to the template. Create the small ridges around the eye by folding the pipe cleaner over itself and pinching and twisting to lock. Now grab some scissors and trim some of the fuzz off the pipe cleaner to thin it out and expose the wire on the short piece where you ended and the long piece above. Just enough to accommodate the shape you see on the template, thinner at the back and thicker closer to the eye. Check your lines on the template and trim to make them fit the outline. Add a shorter pipe cleaner, half of one, back to the beginning of the eye and secure. You will be doubling up the frame again, creating a thicker line on the front of the eye that leads off the beak to match the template. Loop around this small section several times to thicken and secure. Begin shaping the bottom of the eye socket by folding for thickness and molding the shape on the template. The bottom of the socket won't be fully attached to the rest of the eye at this point. There should still be a gap at the back part of the socket. Check your template lines and trim some of the thicker areas with scissors to shape. Cutting a third of a black pipe cleaner, use this piece to mold the inner part of the eye. Shape and trim to fit the template mold. Now connect the inside of the eye to the socket frame. Trim off the excess after connecting and start shaping on the template again. Make sure you're molding your frame to the template often to maintain the right shape. Connect two pipe cleaners together and begin to make the top floating feather streak inside the frame. Lay it on the template to get the size, then fold it over to double the thickness. Start to mold the curved shape. The bent end will be the floating one closest to the eye socket. We haven't connected this piece to the frame yet. Find the connection point to the back of the head. Pinch tightly at the connection point and secure with the shorter end of the excess by looping it around. Connecting between the first and second layer of your frame not over both. On your last securing loop, make sure the smaller end faces towards the beak and incorporate that into the feather streak, twisting it to secure to the others. Use the long end of the excess to create a loop several times to add stability to the feather streak at the back of the frame. Once you feel the streak is secure, trim the excess and secure to the frame. Now, trim and shape the thickness of the feather streak with your scissors until you think it matches the template. Remember to check your shape as needed. Make the final floating feather streak for a new pipe cleaner as we just made the last one. Make sure you bend and twist the bent end into a thin point. Lay on the frame and shape. Now, line up where it will connect and split the end to make two tails. Place the streak between the first and second layer at the back of the head. Check the placement and trim and shape as needed. Loop the tails to connect to the frame. To make the final frame part of the mouth, connect to the beak in line with the template and secure and shape to create the bottom part of the open mouth to finish the frame. Now grab a few black pipe cleaners, around 2 to 3, and shave them down to their wire form. As you use these pieces, it is very important that the wire be placed underneath the frame and not on top. This will give you a net effect. Place the first wire onto the eye socket. Weave the wire through the inside and outside frame from under to the top. Trim the excess and secure. Place another wire support inside the top part of the beak. Trim and secure. Remember, we're creating a net to hold the fill so that you can lay it on top and it won't push through later. Add the next wire net support to the first floating feather strip. Do this by locating the center and pushing the wire up from the bottom and securing in place, and run it to the top of the head. Trim and secure. Now add a wire connection between the floating feather streaks. Trim and secure. Add another from the second floating feather streak to the connected smallest one at the bottom of the eagle. Trim and secure. Add another net support to the bottom of the beak. Trim and secure. Now connect a wire from the long eye socket line to the top of the head at the back of that line. Trim and secure. Make a connection to the second floating feather streak, connecting from the beak to the floating tip. If you use a small piece, just secure, but if you're using a longer piece, trim and secure. Continue adding additional wires across the inside of the underneath of the frame as we have been to create the net. Add as much netting support as you want. Here's what our artist did for reference. Grab a white pipe cleaner and bend back a small portion and mold it to the top of the frame inside the black outline just behind the beak. You will be laying this layer on top of the wire net you just created. Follow the shape of the back of the head and bend the pipe cleaner to fit. Now, weave the white into the inner frame layer to secure at the back of the head. Return to the front and shape and secure using the small excess you created to start. From the extra at the back, make another layer under the second piece you just laid in, working back toward the head. Loop to secure once back to the front. Loop the white back to the top above the wire net and continue to make the layer of white, looping to secure to the inner part of the frame as you reach it. When your pipe cleaner won't reach the frame again, trim and secure on the back. Trim away any spots on the white that are too thick with your scissors. Add a new pipe cleaner and take it down to create the inner white for the eye, and then trim to secure. Add a new pipe cleaner and continue to lay down the fill of white. If you find additional places you might need netting support, Simply create more wire by shaving off the black fuzz and placing as you have been doing. Now it's time to fill the beak with gray. Use the same process as you did with the white. Be sure to mold around the black piece in the middle of the beak in order to create the tug. Trim and secure on the backside with a loop. Trim the gray as necessary to shape the colors correctly based on the template. Now lay gray into the back of the eye socket. To do this, simply bend to shape and lay on top of the white fill already in place. You will push through and secure to the wire net connection as you go. Once you finish, push through to secure on the back side. Trim and shape as needed on the front. Finally, fill the gray in the empty spaces on the bottom. Secure to the wire netting connections as shown. Push through the frame and fill, laying around the frame and folding as you did with the white above. Remember, your connection inside the middle part of the eagle will be those wire net pieces you laid in. When you reach the end of the pipe cleaner you're working with, add an additional one to keep going. Once you finish filling, trim and secure on the back side with a loop knot, and your fill is done. Let's add the trim. We're going to start by shaving down a green pipe cleaner to create the green wire as you did with the black before. This will stick straight out and serve as the connection point for the green fuzzy trim. Let's put our first one at the junction between where the beak and the top of the head start. Simply secure it to the wire frame and have it stick straight out. Now lay your trim piece on top of the wire and then fold the wire over to secure and lock the trim piece in. Now mold the trim piece forward around to form the beak. Each time you get to a turn or corner, cut a new small piece of that green bare wire to create a connection point off that turn or corner for your trim. Simply lay the trim over the wire and bend that wire to secure as you did the first time. Continue this all the way around the eagle. You have a couple choices here. You can either stop at each point and create a new connection along the way, or you can continue just to mold around the trim and go back to secure at each point after you have the general shape. When you reach the end of your trim piece, secure a new green piece to continue in the same manner as you have been. After securing the final part of the trim, grab a small piece of that bare green wire. Bend it into a very small U shape to fit under the bottom of the eye. This will frame the eyeball of the eagle. Shape it around that piece and push through to the back and secure, and you're done! You made it, and we would love to see the result. Make sure to tag us on Instagram at Ascend Art Co to share your work. Subscribe to our channel to get more tutorials, and as always, happy twisting!